I am so excited about sharing this module with you. Many people now view metacognition and other executive function skills as the missing piece for so many children who are struggling. When this clicks, so many other things then have the potential to fall into place. Metacognition means being able to think about your own thinking. When kids improve their metacognition, they feel more in control of their own learning and become more active learners. Doesn't that sound great? Imagine your child feeling in control of their learning and taking a more active role as a learner. This is exactly what we want our kids with DLD to develop. When they can think about how they think and thus how they learn and how they show what they know, they become much better problem solvers and critical thinkers, and they increase their level of resiliency, which is huge. Studies have shown that strong metacognitive skills can compensate for some learning challenges. Metacognition is thus super important for our kids with DLD. We know they have specific challenges, they know they have specific challenges, and so it is crucial to empower them to feel more in control of their learning by thinking about their own thinking. Would you believe that strong metacognitive skills may actually be a better predictor of academic success than socioeconomic status or IQ? That's why this is such a big deal. Executive function skills, sometimes referred to as EF, are higher order cognitive skills and processes involved with self-regulation and are closely connected with thinking about our own thinking. Executive function skills can be lumped into three main dimensions: inhibitory control, working memory, and cognitive flexibility. Take a look at your EF handout, which further breaks these down into areas including sustained attention, organization, response inhibition, flexibility, emotional control, time management, planning and prioritizing, task initiation, working memory, and goal-directed persistence. Your handout outlines what each of these executive function skills are and lists some suggested strategies, activities, reflexive questions, and specific compliments you can give your kids for each specific skill. The definitions and some of the strategies are taken from Lori Faith's amazing EF program called Activated Learning Teaching Approach. As you guide your child through the development of these skills, the goal is to facilitate the development of their inner voice so they can eventually become independent using these skills in various situations. I suggest pausing this video and taking a look at the handout before we go any further, knowing that we will continue to unpack this throughout this module and the rest of the course. I love this quote out of Harvard University's Center on the Developing Child. In their article titled "Building the Brain's Air Traffic Control System: How Early Experiences Shape the Development of Executive Function," the authors state, having executive function in the brain is like having an air traffic control system at a busy airport to manage the arrivals and departures of dozens of planes on multiple runways. As parents and caregivers, we have so many planes in the air and on the ground at the same time. We are factoring in when we took the fish out of the freezer to help us determine how much time it will take to cook, while also helping one child with homework, speaking calmly while preparing a snack for the whining toddler, and controlling our urge to yell at them, thinking of how we want to reply to that work email, staying calm when we hear the cat coughing up a hairball, and planning how to make sure the baby doesn't crawl over to the hairball, all at the same time. This involves so much emotional control, planning, prioritizing, task initiation, organization, working memory, flexible thinking, and self-monitoring. No wonder we are exhausted at the end of the day. Of course, we do not expect our children to have mature executive function skills while still young. These skills develop for many years, with a big jump often occurring between the ages of 3 and 5 years old and continuing into adolescence and early adulthood. Some children with highly developed executive function skills comment as they think about their thinking in order to problem solve, showing an ability to plan, monitor, think flexibly, and evaluate their actions. For example, a child may say, "I wanted to make a sand castle, so I put dry sand in my bucket and flipped it over, but none of the sand stayed in the castle shape. But then I used wet sand and it worked." This child has thought about their thinking, persevered, and flexibly experimented to find a solution rather than having a meltdown right away when their plan failed. What a beautiful approach and solid foundation for problem solving at a young age. When we help our kids with DLD develop metacognitive and other executive function skills, they are so much more likely to reach their goals, both at school and in life in general. Dr. Amanda Tarullo, director of the Brain and Early Experiences Laboratory at Boston University, says, when children enter kindergarten, the key question is not whether they know the alphabet or can add and subtract. Instead, the important skills include impulse control, attention span, and emotional regulation. These abilities don't develop on their own. Instead, the relevant regions of the brain need to be activated, and often, since the brain's networks are strengthened through practice. Your child may have completed kindergarten recently or years ago, but it is never too late to help your child improve executive function skills. We know from research that DLD is often associated with executive function impairment, so that is super important for our kids. Kimberly Cuevas and colleagues published a paper in 2014 demonstrating that responsive parental interactions are essential to promoting optimal child outcomes, including executive functions. I believe that being very intentional with highlighting executive function skills in our daily life with our kids is one of the greatest gifts we can give our children with DLD. The best news is it is doable to work on this in daily life without it even feeling like work, and it doesn't have to be targeted just in the domain of academics and homework. I am so excited to help you understand how to help your child in this area. A key way to do this is with reflexive questioning, which we will talk about more later in the module. You can also check out the column with reflexive questioning suggestions in the handout. Now, let's imagine a child in middle school with DLD who has well-developed executive function skills, which are crucial for reading comprehension. She may read a paragraph about cell division, and then, because her inner voice has been developed, she can reflect on her own thinking, asking herself, when I read that paragraph, were there words that I didn't understand? Actually, yes. There were quite a few words I didn't understand, like mitosis. If I move on to the next paragraph now, what will happen? Well, I will probably get even more confused, so I should use some of the strategies I learned with my SLP to figure out the meaning of those unfamiliar words first, and then reread the paragraph before I go on. This will help me have a better chance of understanding cell division. You can see how executive function skills are crucial for the child's success. When she is able to monitor and evaluate her comprehension and notice a deficit, she can then plan to use strategies she has been taught and prioritize which words or concepts to review. If that child had poor higher order executive function skills and had just continued on without understanding many of the words, she likely would have become frustrated and not increased her understanding much at all. We can suggest strategies until we're blue in the face, but unless a child has developed their executive function skills, they're unlikely to use many strategies appropriately on their own. So how do we help with this? Reflexive questioning is the place to start, and I will explain this as we continue. Together, we will learn how to help your child increase their self-awareness and become a more active learner. When a child understands how they think and where they are experiencing challenges, they have the potential to use strategies to combat those DLD-related deficits and experience success.